Wait, game 2 on the NFL slate. I will be in the land of Cleve on Sunday, and not just for the rock and roll and the pizza. We'll be covering the Browns and the Ravens all week long from the Castle in Owings Mills. Luke Jones on the scene out there. You can follow along on our Twitter at WNST, and of course our text service brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Meantime, Birds in Boston, and then the homecoming. 11 games at home, the Rays, the Red Sox. We will see whether fans come out, but I know this, the Orioles have shown up. And despite Monday's bad efforts and bad news final at Fenway Park, it looks like the factors are all coming together for a last week showdown amongst a bunch of teams. Jen McCaffrey covers all things Red Sox as the beat writer for MassLive.com and the Springfield Republican. You can follow her journey out on Twitter at JC McCaffrey. That's McCaffrey. And she joins us from Boston, where they have pennant fever, correct, Jen?
Exactly. I know it's been a pretty intense week, and going to be a couple intense weeks towards the end of the season with a lot of these teams right in the hunt.
I have started every conversation with all baseball people this week with the Yankees because as much as no one wants to acknowledge them and they say, well, Sanchez is okay and all of that, they're in this, and not only are they in this, they're really going to be the factor because if all of these teams that think they're going to pull away and win a lot of games, the Yankees are going to be the victims because the Yankees are playing all of these teams, and if any of the teams are victimized by the Yankees, we might have the Yankees in the wild card again.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody foresaw that the Yankees was kind of pulling to this hunt late in September like they have and kind of trying to mix things up a little bit here. I think everybody sort of was expecting a Baltimore, Toronto, Boston kind of showdown towards the end of the season. And now the Yankees have really kind of pulled some things together and it's going to be really interesting these next 20 or so games left in the season to see how this all matches up.
Been a little while since there's been a shootout at Fenway between the Yankees and the Red Sox. Not the first time, and some of us got sick of watching it, quite frankly, over the course of a couple of decades. But this will be a unique weekend if the Yankees can win the first one or the second one or sort of get a little bit of momentum going there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and it's also sort of an homage to Ortiz's final go-around with them in the regular season anyway. So it's a lot of new faces, than maybe the old Red Sox-Yankee rivalry. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend here.
Look, I don't want to judge anything off of Monday night. Certainly the defense, the Steve Pierce, the Wade Miley, who I know you guys are familiar with, and seeing David Price, who gets $217 million to win games like he did on Monday night. But just in general, with where the Red Sox are, I like the trades, and even the Pomerantz trade early. I knew that would serve them well, and I don't dislike the Orioles at this point. I mean, Jimenez to me is still a box of chocolates, and getting Tillman back and potentially O'Day back as well. All of that bodes well for the Orioles. But there's nothing to not like about the way the Red Sox are playing right now. The offense, the pitching, even the bullpen has come together. It's kind of easy to see why they've pulled away a little bit.
Yeah, I think since August 1st, I did a story today for Mass Live that Red Sox are 24-16, and a lot of that's fallen on the shoulders of the rotation. They've kind of, throughout the whole season, the Red Sox offense has kind of been carrying them, but it's really been the starting pitching that's kind of lagged behind, especially with Bryce in the first half. You've had a really steady Rick Porcello, but that's pretty much been it, and Stephen Wright early on. But, the starting pitching has really picked them up over the last 3 weeks or so. I think they have a 3.18 ERA since the trade deadline. So that's really been the key for them and kind of pulling things together. They've really kind of pulled things together at the right time. It's just kind of maintaining it now for these final 20 or so games and to see if they can kind of hold off Toronto and Baltimore.
We're saying that about Jimenez as well, right? And Gallardo and these other guys that have really scuffled. And, the Orioles were in first place despite a lot of those guys and despite their efforts. They've been better. I guess for the Red Sox, it hasn't been any different with moving chairs around, whether it's Buckholz and you got knuckleballers and, Price wasn't going right earlier in the year. That's why these teams were bunched up, because none of them could really find 3 or 4 guys to go out there every 5 days and give you a start that you'd know when you woke up that morning you wouldn't have to go to the bullpen to at least the 5th or 6th inning, and you'd at least be in the ball game and give it all of their bats. To add Toronto into that, you're never really out of a game when you're down 2 or 3 runs in the middle of the game because you have those kind of bats. All these teams have that potential.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they we've always said over the past few years too that there's been so much parity in this division from top to bottom, and even the Rays being down at in the cellar of the division always gives every team in the division a hard fought game and kind of never let up.
By the way, one of the people in this conversation picked the Rays to win the division. Just one of us did, and I don't think it was you.
It wasn't me. So.
Guilty as charged, I mean, hey, when you say stupid things in April, you got to fess up in September, I mean, you just do.
And, like I was just saying, that the parity in the league, you can never really tell who's gonna be, on top. And every team kind of gives it a little bit of a different look. And I think that's why, this division is the toughest out there, just because there is so much similarity between the teams. So, yeah, I mean, everybody kind of has the ups and downs throughout the season, but I don't think anybody's going to be out of it until maybe even that final weekend.
Jen, I'm old school, man. I think pitching is sexy, and that's what I liked about Tampa. I thought they had a lot of arms. They had a lot of potential. I bought into the Chris Archer thing before the season began. With the Red Sox, I don't think it was hard to buy into Price, but Porcello was a different thing, right? Sold as sort of a top-of-the-rotation guy. Certainly didn't deliver that last year, amongst other problems with Sandoval and Ramirez, which we'll get into those guys in a minute. But the Porcello rejuvenation, much like the Chris Tillman rejuvenation here in Baltimore, to sort of an all-star form, that's been the difference maker, because everyone thought, well, they might have one ace in Price, and the rest of it they'll kind of figure out. Porcello can win 23, 24 games here this year. This is as good an effort. I not want to compare him to the Pedro or Clemens, but from a win-loss perspective and giving him the ball and having confidence, he's that guy right now.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't lost in a start at Fenway yet this season. So, I mean, that's one thing that you can kind of point to look at his dominance. But, yeah, going back to last year, he went down to AAA in July to kind of work some things out. And towards the end of the season, you could kind of see he was putting some things together. But, then the season ended, and you weren't really sure, is this going to continue into next season? And to his credit, he's kept it going. And really, since mid-August of last year, he's been on kind of a tear. And really, I think, just surprised a lot of people in terms of just his consistency with 7 innings almost every single night. The walks, he has a career low in walks. He's giving up 0 and 1 or 1 walk per start, almost the entire season. So that's really been a godsend for the rotation. If they didn't have him, I'm not sure, what they would do. And at this point, the way the rotation is lined up, Price is going to be pitching game 162, and that would mean that Porcello would be lined up for a wild card game if the Red Sox need one, or for a game 1 of the ALDS if that's where they end up. So that kind of points to the consistency and to the how much that they're looking to him to kind of carry this team in the towards the end of the season.
I've always said, especially in the last 15 years, this century, being a Red Sox is different than being any other player, any other place, because of the community, because of the history, because of the pressure, because of the ballpark. And yet the Red Sox have just thrown money around like a drunken sailor over the last decade in all sorts of ways, whether it's, Crawford and Gonzalez and guys that didn't fare so well, obviously Sandoval. For Porcello to sort of get a comfort level that, let's say, Carl Crawford never found, part of that is pitching in that ballpark and being around. He looks more comfortable this year.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you can even look at Price and say the same thing. The second half of this year, he's looked a lot more comfortable. Both of those guys, it's not an overblown thing to kind of point to pitching in Boston and the atmosphere here and the pressure here, or even playing here, pitching and playing here, as something that really affects guys, no matter how much they're getting paid when they come in. And you definitely have seen that with a number of guys throughout their careers, and these two guys being the latest examples.
Jen McCaffrey joins us here. She is up in Boston covering all things Red Sox as the beat writer for MassLive.com and the Springfield Republican as well. We haven't talked much about the Blue Jays. A nice effort over the weekend to sort of get a leg up on the division for the Red Sox. I don't think the Blue Jays are into the fade at this point, but I think all year long it's felt like they've missed a little something. And, a month ago we were talking about them having the best pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. They kind of I thought they would give the Red Sox a little tougher fight over the weekend, especially being at home. They had that team meeting, too, after the Friday loss to the Red Sox. They kind of have fallen off a little bit, but I don't think I don't think you can count anybody out at this point. It seems like anybody can kind of get hot at any time, and the Red Sox play the Jays the final weekend of the regular season. So I mean, that's going to be key, and who knows where they'll be at that point.
What is your biggest concern heading into these last 20 games? That if the Red Sox were to falter and go, I don't know, 8-12, something relatively disastrous, how would that happen?
I guess the starting pitching has been so consistent, like we were saying, but that has to continue. And they have to keep going out there and throwing up zeros and, limiting opponents to 2 or 3 earned runs to start. You pretty much know the Red Sox offense is going to get things done at this point. And it's the starting staff over the last 3 weeks, like I said earlier, has been what's picked them up. To keep that going, with each guy going through the rotation 3 or 4 more times, it's going to be key for them.
Well, I mean, obviously in the last couple of games, 13 runs, 11 runs, 12 runs, it's hard to lose those kind of games, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you want to you don't want to, and Price said it on Monday night during that blowout, you don't want to, just because the team has started compiling runs up early on in a game, you don't really want to sit back and start, moving pitches down the middle. So they kind of have to keep that competitive edge and kind of keep that fervor that they have from the mound to just kind of maintain things.
Yeah, they haven't lost a game in 2 weeks that hasn't been a one-run loss, right? And in those games, it really has been just like an offensive outage. And we've had that around here, but I expect that more from the Orioles. It's more feast or famine, hitting home runs. They don't walk a whole lot. The Red Sox spray it around a little bit more. I'm shocked when the Red Sox put a donut up in Oakland and a 1 spot up in San Diego a week and a half ago. That was sort of like teetering on the brink there around Labor Day.
Yeah, I kind of did. I looked at something in the one run and 2 run games between Baltimore, Toronto, and the Red Sox, and kind of their record in the second half. And of those 3 teams, the Red Sox had the worst record. It was about a week or so ago, but Toronto was 14-12, I think, and Baltimore was right at 500 at 14-14, and the Red Sox were 10-16 or something along those lines. So, it's sort of a minor, or I guess a minuscule difference in terms of wins and losses, but obviously that's going to be what it comes down to this season. And if they're playing each other down the stretch and these close games come about, the Red Sox haven't fared too well in really close games. So that'll be something that'll kind of be interesting to watch.
And if they are in the postseason, and I'm not tipping the cap yet, they still have to win some games, and they have to come into Baltimore and do some work next week as well. But I expect the Red Sox to win the division. If they do, I mean, you're writing about this team, but on a national level to come in from the outside, obviously there's stories about the manager and last place last year, and Porcello's turnaround, and Price pitching up to his capabilities, and Kimbrel coming over. But for me, Ramirez is going to be the lost story, right, in all of this. Not many people are going to talk. It's going to be Big Papi. It's going to be Bogarts, Betts, and Bradley all sort of blossoming. But Ramirez has done what a lot of folks thought he wasn't going to do last year. We talked about Porcello. He's really had a hell of a year this year and really filled the need for the Red Sox.
Yeah, and you can point to him kind of being the offensive side of a Rick Porcello, as someone coming out that you didn't really expect to have as good a year in his second year here with the team. So, I mean, he's had a tremendous season. He hit his 24th home run on Monday night, and just kind of has sort of been an extra boost to the club in the middle of that order, but behind Betts and Ortiz. So, without him, I'm not sure where they'd be, but you can kind of say that about a lot of these guys, and I guess that's why this offense has been so powerful, because so many of them kind of pick each other up day after day.
You expect them to win the division?
At this point, a couple weeks ago, I would have said no. At this point, I do. But then again, more surprising things have happened, and we all have seen a 7-20 September not too long ago here in Boston. So I don't think anybody's banking on anything just yet.
Well, yeah, it's baseball. Ask me next week, and I'll tell you how I feel then.
Exactly.
Jen, thanks for coming on. Enjoy the games up there, and certainly a big weekend with the Yankees as well. Appreciate the time, as always.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Jen McCaffrey, she is the Red Sox beat writer at MassLive.com and the Springfield Republican. You can follow her journey on Twitter at JC McCaffrey. That's McCaffrey on Twitter. She has a lovely, sheeny shot of the glazed seats of Fenway Park that face, no doubt, center field that are very, very uncomfortable. But, I love it so much because of the clam chowder and the ballpark. I like Fenway. I'm not a Wrigley guy. You guys know that, but that's just me. My wife likes Wrigley more than Fenway. Different strokes, different folks. They might both be playing each other in the World Series next month. Who knows? Somebody's going to get there. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world, including New England, where the boss ended the tour, but he's cranking up the engines in Australia, so I'm excited about that. The morning newspaper delivers to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. That is powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. We're still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. PlanetFitness.com and Planet of Triumphs for some inspiration. Our WNST tech service brings you breaking news 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. It all comes in for you. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.